Oh, that was really loud. Welcome to the channel. Really quick, before I get into the main theme of today's video, the 2K pack for Matt McAfee. Pat McAfee. I almost said Matt McAfee. Oh my god, this is what happens when you have ADHD and a couple of other things going on or not going on up there. You'll notice that above the bald pumpkin head, there is no like, oh, check me out, I'm free, or you can buy me, because usually, I don't know what this is. Usually the latest DLC is right there on the PS5, but if you head on down over here, you'll see something funny. The Pat McAfee pack is there. And then it says learn more. Probably because it's already like baked into the game is the only thing that I can think of, because when it says learn more and it says that you need the following product, the 2K24 season pass, well, guess what? Guess what, jackass? I has the season pass right there. I have it. This way. Wrong direction because my camera's reversed. I own that shit, but that's okay because ultimately nobody wants the pack. Nobody wants it. Not a single person. That's all I'm saying. Now to get into today's theme. Let the thunder roll, baby. So, this person on Twitter said some stuff. And it's exactly, for the most part, 90% how I feel. So rather than making a bullet point on a pad and then showing you my pros and cons as to what I think of Triple H now that he's been the head of creative for 2 years now, it says, what's your overall assessment as per WrestleOps after 2 years of Triple H being the head of creative? Your favorite aspects, your least favorite ones. This is literally the main thing that I like. So, okay, let's just go with it and talk about it without a script and see what happens. Long-form storytelling is a pro. Absolutely, because I feel like, for me personally, and it's all personal preference, that's a big deal. If you're like a casual, you don't tune in too much, then it's not going to make any sense to you if you're trying to tune into a long story, because it's a long story, not a short story. Like, that even needs explaining. So for me, that's a big deal. A leaner roster, it says lean roster. I would say leaner roster. I don't think it's that lean because we still don't have enough time to pretty much showcase everybody on a week-to-week basis. I always go back to like the OC, the Good Brothers. They don't always get some showtime, and I truly feel like they should get some more airtime, showtime on TV, and they don't. But yeah, it is a leaner roster. Another pro, letting wrestlers be a bit freer in the ring and on the mic. Oh, this is gravy on the mashed potatoes. Nobody wants dry, crusty mashed potatoes. They want them moist and juicy. Okay? So that is so true. Factions and tag teams. There are some more tag teams, and there's a bigger emphasis on factions. And it reminds me of like the good old days. Okay? Now, that's for the pros. For the cons, when it comes to AAA, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. It's going to be better. We're not complaining. We're discussing. And then we're sharing with people through the comment section what you think. What's your take? Okay? The cons, which I agree with for the most part. 5-match PLEs. Premium live events. I still like calling them pay-per-views because you're paying per the view. Anyways. I wish it was like between 6 and 8. That 5 to me is not a sweet spot. And you could easily squeeze in an extra couple of matches if you removed all the bloat of all the crazy commercials and the bloat of recapping so much. Like, I get it because you're bringing it back to our attention, or for people that only watch wrestling at the PLEs. Well, it sucks to be you. Keep up with the story, Einstein. That's all I have to say about that. So you should definitely be able to squeeze in an extra match or two, just that extra one or two, and I think that the PLEs would be that much of a better value in my opinion. Fewer house shows becoming a TV/media product with limited live events. Yeah. Obscenely long title reigns, knowing that the champion is going to win. The other thing, too. So there's that predictability thing. So that is very true. So like in the case of Logan Paul, 250-plus days as your United States champ, and he's defended the title 2 times. twice in over 250 days since last year. Are you kidding me? That is absolutely criminal. So for me, that is a huge problem. I don't have a problem with him being the champ, and I don't have a problem with him being the champ for this many days. I have a problem with him or anybody else that holds the title that long with like literally no defenses. If you look at CM Punk's 434-day reign, he had more title defenses in the first like 38 or 39 days as champ than Roman Reigns had in over 2 years. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. So for me, in the modern era, I would have to say for me, CM Punk's title reign, for like the longest title reign with meaning, it would have to be it. Now, Roman Reigns was very deep, don't get me wrong. It was an incredible story, and it's still developing to this day. But I still think it was a failure that we didn't have him come out just a little bit more often, and it was so predictable with the bloodline. I almost said blue line. The bloodline. Just always interfere. Like, I mean, all the time. I mean, even Gunther was able to handle business on his own with barely ever having his cronies come out, right? And then part-timers with championships, especially Logan Paul's U.S. title reign. Right, I've already covered that. So you can have a part-timer, fine. But for the love of God, why are we giving them such long title reigns? To me, it literally makes no sense, because Triple H, Paul Levesque, same person, by the way. He's got an incredible mind. But really, so did Vincent Kennedy McMahon. I mean, if you look back at the 80s and the 90s and all that, and early 2000s, Attitude Era, all the different eras, right? I almost said the Attitude Adjustment era. Oh my God, the Ruthless Aggression era. He had a lot of amazing ideas. Now, back in the 80s, like WrestleMania 1 and like going back, like way back, I don't know if Vince at the time was fully in charge of creative and he had full say of what went on. I mean, I watched wrestling live back then, but I haven't bothered to research that far back, like 4+ decades, to see how much control he had back then compared to like recently, if it was about the same, right? What I'm saying is, as far as I know, he did have a lot of creative control, Vince McMahon, that is. And he was amazing, in my opinion, at booking. He was amazing on commentary. And then it's like he did like a 180. And he went completely backwards, and he became shit. Absolute garbage. He went from one of the best to being one of the worst. So it was really baffling. But anyhow, so yeah. Now, this point I don't agree with, and you know what? It's okay if we don't agree with this sentiment. It's really, really, what the hell was that? It's fine. She says, Akon is giving Cody Rhodes no real character except being the son of a legend. If he loses the title, he doesn't even have much to go back on, i.e. Stone Cold 98-99. I think at this point, Cody Rhodes has, through the course of time, whether he was with Randy Orton and Ted DiBiase Jr. with Legacy, whether he was dashing Cody Rhodes or Stardust, or he was an AEW, now that we've seen him come back in the last couple of years on WWE with his charismatic Shakespearean-like promos, there is no denying that Cody Rhodes is onto something, and onto something absolutely fantastic. He has showcased what he's capable of more than ever in the last 2 years than his entire career. I remember him having promos with The Rock about 10 or 11 years ago back in January, and they were arguing about the mustache that Cody Rhodes used to have, and if I want to grow a mustache, then I'm going to grow a mustache. And The Rock was like, what's that dead caterpillar on your lip? Right? And it was harder to take Cody Rhodes seriously back then, because that's all he was allowed to really showcase. And that's why I always go back to people like Chelsea Green as a prime example of somebody, or even Natalia or some others, like Zack Ryder, a.k.a. Matt Cardona, of people that you'll see and you'll be like, well, they're not really giving us that much. They're not that great on the microphone. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, wait, where did that come from? Like if you ever watch Karrion Kross on social media, on Instagram, on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and he does all these promos outside of the WWE from what you see on TV, it is absolutely mind-blowing the storytelling that this guy can do. So it wasn't that I or anybody else ever doubted that Cody Rhodes could ever be as great as what I think he is now, because there's going to be some people that don't like him, and that's fine. Some people don't like CM Punk. I love CM Punk more than the air I breathe. That's okay. It's okay. I personally am blown away by Cody Rhodes. Me personally. She isn't. Maybe you're not. It's not that big of a deal. I personally think, which is what I'm trying to get to the point here, which is not something I'm good at doing. I think now if he lost the title, all of that didn't go to waste. He accomplished and set out to do what he wanted to do. The biggest hurdle was taking down, the Roman Empire. See what I did there? And he did it. So if he got screwed or he lost clean, I mean, he is human. He still set out to do what he was set out to do. He did it. He accomplished it. He finished the story. Now, the part of the story where he's the son of a plumber and blah, blah, blah. He's the American nightmare. The American dream was his father. Don't forget that his father has a lot of accolades, right? Like just overall, not in WWE, but he's a multiple world time champ. So that was a little bit of a weird thing, making the whole thing like, well, he's never won the title before, just like Jerry the King Lawler. He never won a championship in WWE, but in NWA, I think it was, in Memphis Wrestling and all that. He's a multi-time champ, Jerry the King Lawler is. So that part of him just being like the son of a legend, the son of Dusty Rhodes. Sometimes quickly when I talk really fast, Dusty and Dustin Rhodes, his brother in AEW, who used to be Goldust and then the natural Dustin Rhodes. Sometimes I quickly get their names confused there. But they're an incredible family, and I truly, truly 100% believe that each one of the three Rhodes, Dusty, Dustin, and Cody, are all standing on their own ground, and neither of them are piggybacking off of one another's fame whatsoever. There could have been no Dusty Rhodes whatsoever. Just, he was never a wrestler. He was never a performer. He was never an entertainer. He was never on TV, never heard of, like most wrestlers' parents. And I believe that Cody would be where he is today. That Dustin would be where he is today. I really do believe that. So that's the part that I don't agree with. The other thing that I want to throw in as a positive, but again, all these are subjective, right? Is the whole camera thing backstage. It's such a small touch. We're watching you backstage, the superstars, the wrestlers, whatever you want to call them. They're acknowledging the camera. We follow them to the ring right from the back. I don't know. It's such a small touch, but I really, really appreciate it. Just overall, I'm a huge wrestling fanatic. I don't give a shit what three-letter acronym is tied to the wrestling promotion. I really don't. I enjoy them all for what they are. Some promotions I enjoy more than others, but that's okay again. It's really not a big deal. In recent memory, since the Triple H era, if you will, I have to admit it's been more fun. It's been more exhilarating for me to be a WWE fan. It really, really has. It was, back in the day, before that, it wasn't all that. I mean, there was some moments that were great. Don't get me wrong. It's not like there weren't any good moments. But I wasn't, blown away. Right? Don't forget, I grew up literally watching, Hogan's first title reign. I grew up watching Jake the Snake Roberts live on TV. I met Bret the Hitman Hart in person back in the day when he was champ. Like, I grew up through what is arguably one of the greatest eras of professional wrestling ever, the 80s and 90s. Like, those 2 decades are like, wow. So I grew up with that, so I'm a little bit snobby, right? And the storytelling, for example, between, like, let's say Macho Man Randy Savage and Jake the Snake Roberts and the whole Cobra thing and all that sort of stuff, for example, um, it was great, but at the same time, even back then, like I discussed in another video, there was a lot of weaknesses because it was only at the pay-per-views that you would see people like the Ultimate Warrior take on Hogan. You weren't going to see that on Monday Night Raw. Well, first of all, Monday Night Raw didn't exist back then, so those regular shows that you would see week to week, it was always a big superstar and some little rinky-dink local talent. So you always knew what was going to happen. It was all about the promos and what Mean Gene Okerlund had to say backstage. That was like the highlight of the show. But all in all, it kind of sucked, to be honest with you, except, again, for the major pay-per-views. Royal Rumble in January. Then in March, April, you would have your WrestleMania. Then SummerSlam in August. And then Survivor Series in November. Those were the 4 only, as far as I remember. Yeah, the 4 only big pay-per-views. So like 4 times a year, you got to see like the cream of the crop go up against each other. For the most part. Of course, there was always exceptions. Of course, there was exceptions. Whereas now, week to week, oh my God, we've got Raw, we've got SmackDown, we've got NXT, and every week, every match, it's super rare to see a local talent unless you have like Braun Strowman when he first came out for like the first month or whatever, where he would take on like 2 local talents and do the squash match. Thought that was dumb as shit. But now you're always seeing high caliber matches. So, and that's been like that for decades already. So don't get me wrong. There's things I can nitpick from every single era. But right now, this is the most fun I've probably had since like the Ruthless Aggression era, like over 2 decades ago. Like, holy shitballs. And there's a wonderful roster, I believe, at New Japan Pro. I think there's a wonderful roster at Impact, at AEW. Like, they're all doing some great stuff. So right now, just overall, if you're a huge wrestling fan, what a great time it is to be one, truthfully. So for me, all in all, it's a positive. And the positives, even if there could potentially be as many positives as negatives or more negatives than positives, just all in all, I think the whole thing in general of Triple H being in charge is a positive thing. My goodness, did I just do that? Seriously, 18 minutes I flapped my gums about what? Just saying that Triple H is some good shit, and we could have just ended it there. Thumbs up if you feel bad for me and you enjoyed the video. I mean, naturally, that does greatly help support the channel with the algorithm in trying to make me a little wee bit more relevant in the search results when people are looking stuff up on the internet. If you didn't like the video, that's fine. Go ahead, give it a thumbs down, bend it in half, twist it. I'll give you the solo Sakoan spike in the rectum. And for clarification, it is your thumb, not mine. So your dirty fetishes out of my DMs on Twitter, it's not my thumb going there. Your own. I have to clarify that. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, do I even need to finish that sentence? Exactly. And if not, well, thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care. And if I'm lucky, maybe I'll see some of you in the next one. Bye for now.